On the news, Senate confirms Dama as minister just as President Tinubu requests Senate to approve loan for Sokoto-Badagry Superhighway. Fresh momentum as House of Representatives backs special seats for women.
The House of the called on members to demonstrate patriotism and statement by supporting this bill to secure the constitutional requirement of two-thirds majority in the various legislative outfit.
Also on the news, legislator dissects concise review of the 2026 Appropriation Act and its key features.
Our crude oil above 1.84 million barrels per day. So there is no reason why the 2026 budget should not be made on 31st December 2026.
A good evening to you viewers. Welcome to Parliamentary News on NTA. I'm Deborah Olumayowa. Now the news in detail. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has transmitted a request to the Senate for the approval of $516.333 million for the execution of Section 1, 1A and 1B of the Sokoto-Badagry Superhighway project. The Sokoto-Badagry Superhighway is a flagship infrastructure initiative under the Renewed Hope agenda. It is expected to open up Nigeria's northwest-southwest economic corridor through the construction of high-capacity carriageway linking Sokoto, Kebbi, Niger, Kwara, Oyo, Ogun, and Lagos states, stretching from Ilela to Badagry. The proposed financing of the project comprises a syndicated loan to be secured through Deutsche Bank AG with support of the insurance arm of the Islamic Development Bank. The federal government will shoulder financial implications such as land acquisition, compensation and ancillary infrastructure amounting to 265.5 billion naira. In the meantime, Mutaka Rebe Dama has been confirmed as a minister of the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria after a screening exercise by the Senate. Dama was appointed this week by President Bola Tinubu to replace Ahmed Musa Dangiwa, the immediate past Minister of Housing and Urban Development. While responding to questions from lawmakers on housing deficit and urban renewal, the minister says he intends to work with other stakeholders to achieve set targets. As conversations around constitutional reforms on gender inclusion linger at the National Assembly, a fresh push is emerging from within the House of Representatives. It is a renewed interest for the passage of the Special Seats for Women Bill. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports.
As the National Assembly fine-tunes plans to engrave gender inclusion into the nation's constitution, one voice on the floor is refusing to wait for the final sound of the gavel. A motion by Representative Jesse Okejo is turning up the urgency, pushing for increased women participation and affirmative action now, not later.
The House of the called on members to demonstrate patriotism and statement by supporting this bill to secure the constitutional requirement of two-thirds majority in the various legislative outfit.
This motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it.
The attention of members again turns to national security, following the motions from Representatives Usman Balami on killings in Askira Uba, Hawal Federal Constituency of Borno State, and Gabriel Zok, also on killings and kidnappings in Kashia, Kakargo Federal Constituency of Kaduna State. But beyond the calls for intervention, a proposed law emerges, the Department of State Service Research and Development Establishment Bill, a legislation that could reshape how intelligence is gathered in the country past second reading, sponsored by Speaker Tajuddin Abbas and Austin Asama.
To get intelligence using scientific methods cannot be overemphasized.
If there is any place where research and development should be promoted, as far as the security architecture is concerned, is our services.
This bill is referred to the Committee on National Security and Intelligence for further legislative action.
The House resolved that trafficked Nigerians from West African countries be repatriated, rehabilitated and reintegrated. Representative Tolutope Akonde Shadipe moved the motion. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Earlier, senators urged frontline communities that have become soft targets to assist in the fight against insecurity by making available relevant information to help security agencies stop terrorists before they strike. It is with regards to the recent security breach in Monguno and Benishek, during which some officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Armed Forces lost their lives. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that the Senate Chief Whip, Mohammed Tahir Monguno, and 2 other senators from Borno raised the motion.
Coming under matters of urgent public importance, the Senate Chief Whip, Senator Mohammed Tahir Monguno, alongside Senators Salim Dume and Kaka Shehu Lawan SAN, lamented the heightened security breaches in Borno State.
There are some reprisal attacks on civilians. So there is need for the military to also conduct proper investigation.
With a view to bringing to an end the resurgence of attacks in our communities within the 3 senatorial districts we have in Borno State.
What is happening in the northeast, particularly Borno, is being felt everywhere.
There must be coordination between all agencies, all security agencies, so that when they work in unison, they will be able to achieve more results.
The security agencies were commended for their sacrifices, just as President Bola Tinubu was acknowledged for his commitment to declaring a state of emergency on insecurity.
I'm aware that the President has called on the armed forces to double up.
The Senate Minority Leader, Senator Abba Moru, also drew the attention of Parliament to the latest attack on innocent civilians in Benue.
Urgent, coordinated and sustained security intervention is required to halt the killings, restore peace, and enable displaced persons to return to their ancestral homes and their livelihoods.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has written to the Senate seeking confirmation of appointees, among them Muntaka Rabi Dharma as minister. The President also transmitted to the Senate the Nigeria Police Trust Fund Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2025, with provisions to strengthen the police architecture.
To provide management and administration of the fund and support for the training and enhancement of the skills of the Nigerian police force, provision of modern security equipment and machineries.
In the run-up to the 2027 general elections, political realignment again took center stage in the Senate as the Minority Whip, Ositangu, defected to the APC, paving the way for the emergence of Senator Tony Ngoyi as the Minority Whip. 2 other lawmakers, Aliu Wadada and Anthony Siakoyaru, defected from the SDP and PDP respectively to the APC. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Last week, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu signed the 2026 Appropriation Bill into law with a total size of 68.32 trillion naira, one of the largest in the country's history. Interestingly, that came even as the implementation of 2025 budget was extended to the end of June this year, which raises a critical question: how well are we implementing what we already have? Over the years, Nigeria has had ambitious budgets, but the gap between approval and execution has often been the real challenge. Looking at the 2026 figures, there are significant allocations to debt service, recurrent spending, and capital projects, all pointing to a government trying to balance obligations with development. But for the average citizen, the conversation is much simpler. Will this budget improve roads, strengthen healthcare, support businesses, and ease the cost of living? And perhaps more importantly, do we have the capacity, discipline, and systems to deliver on these commitments? Let's find out in this background report.
President Bola Tinubu signed the 2026 Appropriation Act into law setting the federal budget at 68.32 trillion naira with full implementation starting April 1, 2026. Key figures stand at total expenditure 68.32 trillion naira, up from the initial 58.47 trillion naira proposal after President Tinubu requested adjustments to cover legacy capital projects and priority sectors. Capital expenditure 32.2 trillion naira, about 50% of the budget, aimed at infrastructure, national security and inclusive growth. Recurrent expenditure 15.4 trillion naira, debt service 15.8 trillion naira, statutory transfers 4.799 trillion naira. Dubbed the budget of consolidation, renewed resilience and shared prosperity, this is to build on the administration's economic reforms and shift more spending to capital projects rather than recurrent costs. Revenue and deficit is another key highlight. Here, projected revenue is 34.33 trillion naira, leaving a deficit of roughly 25.9 trillion naira, which the government plans to finance partly through a $6 billion foreign loan for projects like the Apapa Tin campus rehabilitation. Another key policy highlight is fiscal assumptions built on an oil benchmark of $64.85 per barrel and GDP growth of 46.68%. Other notable measures in the 2026 fiscal package include green tax. Here, new surcharge on vehicles stand at 2% for engines effectively July 1, 2026. Electric vehicles, mass transit buses and locally manufactured cars are exempt. Meanwhile, the capital component of the 2025 budget was extended from March 31 to June 30, 2026 to allow MDAs complete ongoing projects. President Tinubu has consequently directed MDAs to ensure discipline, transparency and efficient spending with emphasis on value for money and timely delivery.
Joining us in the studio is a member representing Abak Etim, Ekpo Ika Federal Constituency of Akwa Ibom State, Representative Clement Jimbo. He's also the Deputy Chairman, House Committee on National Planning and Economic Development. He'll be digging deep into the topic, a concise review of the Appropriation Act and its key features, with discussion covering the passage timeline and what it reveals about governance, efficiency, and executive engagement, the level of the public participation in the budget process, and the implications of extending 2025 capital spending to June 2026. You're welcome to Parliamentary News on NTA. Let me start on this note. Budget process involves public participation. How will you scale citizens' involvement in the 2026 budget process?
I like a particular documentary I listened to on a particular mainstream media where a poll was sent out for people to know, to have an idea of what their ministries do. It was shocking that a lot of people did not even know that these ministries exist. So doing a public hearing of this nature will give the ministers opportunity to equally come and enlighten the public in front of the parliament to know what gave birth to the thinking on why certain procurement should go into the budget of their ministry. It will be a welcome development.
What is your take on the extension of 2025 capital spending into June 2026 and its implications?
Yeah, the implication, if you ask me, are positive. Positive in the sense that it gives the executive time to see to it that the act of the parliament is fully complied with. Like I normally say, nothing is cast on stones. That is why we are members of the parliament, where we make proposals, where the executive make proposals and we consider their proposals. Nobody has the characteristics of omnipotency, that is all powerful. Nobody has the characteristics of omnipresence, being present everywhere, or omni signs, being knowledgeable in everything. So we make proposals based on the available information to us. And if we move closer to the terminal date of such proposal and it is not realizable, wisdom demands that we also look inward and give them another time. And in this case, initially we said, let the budget ends in 31st March. But we see to it that it was not realized. Less than 10% of the capital component of 2025 budget was realized in 2025. So we said, no, let's extend it to June 2026, which the president sent an official letter notifying the parliament, and the parliament also considered it, because at the end of it all, we are working for one purpose, which is Nigerians, for the betterment of Nigerians.
Is there hope for Nigeria to return to January to December budget circle?
Nothing is impossible. Nothing absolutely is impossible. It's just like I said, for every critical stakeholders to be up and doing, to take their job seriously. Let the funding agencies, revenue generating agencies, see to it that whatever has been saddled on them to generate for the funding of the budget, they meet their targets. And let those that are also saddled with the responsibility of release what needs to be released and on time. And let the different agencies that needs to carry out procurement carry it on time. If every single person does his or her work and on time, there is no reason why we should not meet the budget, especially 2026 budget that so far we are recording surplus. Budget surplus. May I say budget surplus in terms of revenue expectation? We are so far surpassing the macro indicators that we use in preparing this budget. The oil benchmark is increasing. So, and the CBN also, as last 2 weeks, recapitalized our banks, our banking institutions, which has gotten a recommendation from the International Monetary Funds. So those are indicators. And right now we are pumping our crude oil above 1.84 million barrels per day. So there is no reason why the 2026 budget should not be made on 31st December 2026.
Thanks for your contribution to the telecast, Representative Clement.
It's all my pleasure. Thank you very much.
If you're just tuning in, this is NTA Parliament News reaching you from the Federal Capital Territory, and you can follow the platforms showing on the screen for more updates. Moving on, the Katsina State House of Assembly has appealed to the executive arm to provide adequate classroom furniture in basic schools across the state to enhance teaching and learning. The House says the move will improve the learning environment, enhance pupils' comfort, and promote quality basic education. Mohammed Yahya reported that a similar motion on the rehabilitation and upgrade of some healthcare facilities has also been adopted by the House.
The decision followed separate motions sponsored by member representing Matazu and Basari constituency, calling attention to critical challenges affecting education and healthcare delivery in their respected areas. While presenting his motion, the member representing Matazu constituency, Ibrahim Umar Dukko, expressed concern over the poor state of school infrastructure, noting that many classrooms are dilapidated and lack basic learning facilities. He stressed the urgent need for the construction of new schools and rehabilitation of existing ones to provide a conducive learning environment for pupils across the constituency.
If you visit the schools, you will observe that in most classrooms, only a few desks are available, and these are insufficient to accommodate the pupils.
In a related development, member representing Basari constituency, Mustafa Tukur, decried the deplorable condition of schools and healthcare facilities in the area, largely as a result of prolonged insecurity. He noted that although many displaced persons have returned to their communities, essential services remain inaccessible, with damaged facilities yet to be restored. The lawmaker further lamented that residents, particularly pregnant women and children, are forced to travel long distance to access medical care and education. For sick people, particularly women, they have to travel long distance to access healthcare facilities. And if care is not taken, they might die along the way. The House unanimously adopted the resolutions and urged the executive arm to take immediate steps toward the construction and rehabilitation of schools, as well as the restoration of healthcare facilities in the affected areas. From the State House of Assembly, Muhammad Yahya, NTA News.
The bill seeking to address the alarming rate of out-of-school children and other related matters, tagged the Osun State Mass Education Agency Bill 2024, has passed its second reading. While presenting its policy thrust at the hallowed chamber, the lawmaker representing Ila constituency and chairman House Committee on Education, Representative Sikiru Bajekpati, highlighted both the immediate and potential benefits captured in the bill, including gender equality and proper regulation, amongst others. Muiwa Omaumi takes it from here.
The Osun State Mass Education Agency Bill 2024, sponsored by two members representing Ila constituency and chairman of the House Committee on Education, Sikiru Bajekpati, is expected to ensure quality assurance and help in tracing quack coaching centers.
We also reduce the literacy level in the state and promote gender equality and inclusion in educational opportunities. The bill, when passed, will also seek to transfer to the agency the responsibilities being currently discharged by the audit, non-formal and women unit of the Ministry of Education, daycare or early childhood care development education. The passage of this bill will also encourage the establishment of a board, which will be charged with various duties, amongst which is the laying down of policies on mass literacy, adult and non-formal education, that will the overall social and economic development of the state.
In their various contributions, the lawmakers noted that the bill is for the development of the entire education sector of the state and will promote internal generated revenue of the state. The Speaker, Adewale Egbedun, emphasized that education is a key component that must be given the priority it deserves, adding that the bill will receive speedy consideration. Adewale Egbedun, however, stated that the State Assembly will not hesitate to provide legislative support to Governor Ademola Adeleke, noting that his administration has made the House and the state proud in all ramifications. From the Osun State House of Assembly in Oshogbo, Muiwa Omaumi, NTA News.
Similarly, the Kano State House of Assembly has formed an ad hoc committee to investigate the State Universal Basic Education Board's ongoing recruitment of teachers over alleged irregularities. This followed a matter of urgent public importance raised during plenary by Representative Murtala Musa Kore of Dambata constituency. Samira Hamisu Shira reports that the House also passed the Kano State Sharia Law Bill 2025.
Murtala Musa Kore, while presenting his motion, explained that the recruitment exercise was marred by irregularities with serious complaints raised by the electorate. After a series of deliberations, an ad hoc committee was constituted under the leadership of Deputy Speaker Muhammad Bello Butubutu, with the mandate of summoning the chairman of the State Universal Basic Education Board and conducting a full investigation into the exercise. In another development, the Kano State Minjibir College of Education and Legal Studies Bill 2026 has passed the second reading.
It's because we want to avoid the dilemma being experienced by American Economic Studies, which is a modern technique, and therefore cannot enjoy financial support from institutions like Tech Fund.
Having an additional professional school that will provide legal education for our children is very vital and apt.
Meanwhile, the Kano State Sharia Court Law 2025 has been passed after extensive contributions from stakeholders. Its passage came alongside Sa'adatu Rimi College of Education Reenactment Bill 2026, which allows the institution to award both degree and the National Certificate in Education (NCE).
Bill 2026 was imposed on the air, and for the other matters connected, thereby passed.
Similarly, the House has received an executive correspondence seeking the consideration of the Kano State Electricity Law 2026, as well as Gari College of Education and Advanced Studies. From the Kano State House of Assembly, Zamira Hamisi Shara, NTA News.
That report concludes our bulletin for today. Thanks for being with us. For more updates, kindly follow NTA Parliament on the platform scrolling on your screen. Thanks for staying tuned. Once again, I'm Deborah Olumayowa. Bye for now.